Welcome to the first chapter and the first tool in the grief recovery toolbox. We're going to talk about heart writing and what that means and why it's so important. Throughout my years of working with clients, I've often had clients do journaling. And sometimes they've said to me, Brett, I don't want to journal these things. I don't want anybody to ever read what I write. I said, that's beautiful. And that's exactly right. Because the things that come pouring out and the way that those emotions want to be said, we may not want to share those with everybody. And that's okay. These are private things. The things that we're going to write are personal and they are private. And we don't have to share them. This isn't something that you're going to write and have your grandchildren and great-grandchildren discover and say, holy mackerel, never would have thought that about them. No, these are very private and these are very personal. And as you do these activities, you're going to find that the more freeing you let yourself be, the more relieving it is. And so, what is a heart writing? The very first thing that I would do if I was going to do a heart writing is I'd get, so here I have a clipboard and some blue paper. I may or may not want colored paper. But sometimes a colored piece of paper fits the mood of whatever it is that you're feeling. Now, in the Pathway Through Grief program, you know that from time to time I will have you do some lists. And in the Good Grief Really primer, one of the first things that I have you do, if you haven't already gone through it, is to make a list of the loss itself. What is the loss? What are the complementary losses or the competing losses? What are the emotions that are going on? Lots of things that we can list. And that is why one of the things that I love is to use a plain paper, not a lined paper. I don't want this to be rigid and structured because our heart isn't structured. Our emotions aren't structured. And so the more free and open your paper, the more free and open your subconscious can be when it puts all of that in. Now, when I do a heart writing, the first thing I do at the top of the page is maybe I'm going to label what it is. I'm going to pick the thing that I am experiencing at that moment, the thing that I need to write about, the reason that I chose this tool. And I'm going to put it up here at the top. And once I've labeled it at the top of my page, now I can go back to it and I can keep myself focused on what it is that I'm working on at that moment. Now here, I'm just going to start listing. And I'm going to let things just flow and come out as they arise. And one thing may trigger another thing and then another and another, and that's how it goes. And what you're able to do then is look at it and you're like, wow, I didn't realize I was feeling that. I didn't realize that that was in there. I didn't know that I was thinking about that person in that way. You let go of your brain. You let go of the thinking about. And you begin feeling about. Now let me give you an example of what that means and how we do that. So I want you to think about a birthday party or Christmas or anniversary or some kind of a special event that you've had. And I want you to think about all the things that went on. Who was there? Where did you go? What did you receive as a present? What kind of cake did you have? What day of the week was it? Was it sunny out? Was it night? Was it rainy, snowy, sunny? What was it? What are the details? And you're going to find as you do that, and maybe even write it on your board. If you're like most people, you probably immediately started to go into your head and you found the file cards that have all of those pieces of information. And you started to pull off the details. Well, the details are safe. The details are not the emotions. Our heart, though, is what we need to look at. So what I want you to do is think again about that experience, that event, and I want you to think about what it was like when you opened that gift. What was it like when you got in the car or on the plane to go to that special location? What did it feel like? When you received all of that warmth and the accolades and the love, where do you feel it? How do you feel it? Where does it sit in your body? Most of the time we feel it in our chest. Sometimes we'll feel it in our core. Sometimes we'll feel it in our shoulders. It all depends on how we store and whether it's a positive or a negative. When we do a heart writing, we want to get out of here and into here. And the more free you do it, and the faster and just freer that you write, the deeper into here you're going to get. Don't think about it. Just write. Just write. And as you write, just free flow. One thought leads to another thought, leads to another thought. And all of a sudden, you're going to find that you're going to get to the bottom of the thought. And then you'll know that you're there. And you're going to be able then to look back and say, wow, that feels really good. I feel like I've gotten a lot out and I feel lighter in here. So to do a heart writing, the first thing that you want to do is to take the paper like we talked about a minute ago. At the top of the paper, you're going to put the subject of what it is that you're writing about. Sometimes folks will turn it into a letter. You can write a letter to the loss itself. I've had people do that with amazing success. Maybe you just start listing the loss and the impact and everything that's going on with it. It really is up to you, and there are no right or wrong ways to do it. The most important thing is that you move out of your head and into that heart space. What are you feeling? How is it impacting you? How do you feel about this? And then free flow the entire process. Write and just let it go and write the next thing that comes to mind. And maybe it's just words. Maybe it's top of mind thoughts. Maybe it is sentences, paragraphs. It really doesn't matter. As you move through it, what you're going to have is a fluid flow of your thoughts. And when you get done, you're going to know it feels finished. And at that point, you can put it down. You can go back and reread it. I've had a client one time, they took their heart writing, and I said, what do you want to do with this? And he took his piece of paper and he folded it just like you would a letter. And then he took this and he put it in his wallet and said, I want it in my wallet so that every time I experience this again, I can take it out. And he reread it. And it was a letter to the loss. And he wanted to be able to have that, the statement and the empowerment that it gave him against the impact of the loss and what it was causing for him. I've had other people take a look at it and see what it was and say, you know, I just want to wad it up. I want to get rid of it. I'm tired of this. And that's okay too. I had one other client, they got done with it and they didn't want it at all and they just started shredding. Whatever it is for you, and whatever you want to do with that heart writing, when you're finished, that's what you do with it. Now, the neat thing about that is once you're done and you've really moved through that top energy and expressed all of it, a lot of times you can come back to your paper and you can write again. This time, something that maybe you would be willing to share. You would want people to be able to read and see. It really is up to you. There's no right or wrong way to do this. And that's the great thing about this tool of heart writing, is that you can do it anywhere, in any way, and it's up to you how you use it and what you do with it, but it takes that energy and lets it flow. And once you have all of the words down, it gives you tools that you can use and insight and understanding that you can use later. Give it a try. Play with it. Practice it. And the more you do, the easier it is to get into the heart and to really start writing about what you feel. I'll see you in the next session.